Another day, another story about how a spike in the minimum wage is hurting businesses. This one from the Daily Caller, titled, Cutting Staff, Spiking Prices, the Plight of NYC Restaurants Under a $15 Minimum Wage. Now here's the thing. Increasing the minimum wage can be a good thing. The problem is, as I've explained in many videos, and many of you probably get, a one-size-fits-all policy for the entire country makes no sense, and we'll have a one-size-fits-all policy for industry, for varying industries, also makes no sense. It's hard to know how to actually deal with this problem. My opinion is that increasing the wage minimum to $15 is a band-aid on a bullet wound. The bigger issue we're dealing with, automation. Low-skilled jobs are being replaced by robots and kiosks, and forcing businesses to pay more won't change that fact. The core issue I've highlighted in many of these videos, and we'll get to the news in a second, is that what we're really trying to change is the value of an hour of labor. And so long as technology exists, the value of that hour will be low. Forcing the businesses to pay more won't change that fact. So we can maybe talk about how to change the value of an hour through policy, but this is not the way you do it. This is knee-jerk reactions, and it's hurting people. So let's read the story. But before we get started, make sure you check out irl.minds.com. If you didn't know, at the end of this month, I am going to be hosting an event in the Philadelphia suburbs. It's in New Jersey side. We have a ton of excellent speakers. There's going to be a ton of issues we're going to be talking about. We've got people on the left, the right. We've got progressives. We've got feminists. We've got anti-feminists. We've got conservatives. And we've got people in the middle. It has been a journey putting this thing together. But I want to do one big push as we're nearing the event, August 31st, irl.minds.com. Check it out. You can see it on the screen. It's minds.com. Let's get to the news. The Daily Caller reports, New York City's $15 minimum wage, which began to take effect December 31st, 2018, was meant to bolster earnings and quality of life. But for a lot of residents, it's doing the opposite. I will also stress there was a cafe, a famous restaurant where Ocasio-Cortez actually worked, that shut down because of this. They say, Democratic New York Gov. Andrew Cuomo signed legislation in 2016 to increase the New York State's minimum wage to $15 an hour. The lowest minimum wage in New York at the time was $9.60. NYC's big employers, 11 or more employees, were the first to be forced to increase minimum wage pay toward the end of 2018. The rest of NYC's smaller scale businesses won't have to pay up until December 2019, according to data on Cuomo's website. Cuomo claims to have created the bill with the needs of workers and businesses alike in mind, but a lot of business owners in the boroughs beg to differ. They say the extra money comes with an unforeseen cost, higher good prices, fewer working hours, and layoffs. Many people working in the restaurant industry wanted to work overtime hours, but due to the increase, many restaurants have cut back or totally eliminated any overtime work. Andrew Riggi, executive director of New York City Hospitality Alliance, told Fox News, there's only so much consumers are willing to pay for a burger or a bowl of pasta. Why is that? Why won't someone spend $10 on a cheeseburger? Okay, I'm pulling a number out of a hat. But no. Why is there a limit? The reality is, the limit to what someone is willing to spend is based on how much time they have to work to earn a certain amount of money. If I value myself and my labor because maybe I went to school, maybe I'm trained. If I say I deserve more than one cheeseburger per hour because I'm smart, skilled, and worked really hard and deserve it, I'm not going to spend 2 hours of labor on one cheeseburger. Let's remove the money from the equation because when we're dealing with inflation and the cost of goods and the increase, none of that matters. What matters is if you hire someone with no skills whatsoever to mop your floor, what are they entitled to? I certainly think it'd be great if they were entitled to, no matter what work you did, you had a certain standard of living. Unfortunately, producing a product like a cell phone, which most people have requires skilled labor, imports, technology, development, etc. And that means if the value of the labor you do is disproportionate to the value of the labor to produce a good, you will have to work X many hours to get that good. So to put it simply, if making an iPhone requires 10 hours of skilled labor, which that skilled labor comes with, 100 hours of investment, the person who produces that is not going to trade one phone for one cheeseburger. It's like, I don't understand why I have to explain the value of objects and time. But the issue is, when it comes to dollar amounts, many people on the left don't seem to understand this concept, okay? Your value as someone mopping a floor, in terms of how much you get per hour, is low compared to someone who can build a castle. So we're not going to give one cheeseburger for a guy for an hour towards building a castle because that's skilled in labor, took investment in learning, and they wouldn't accept it. They demand more. And that's how the market works. Let's read on. They say, roughly 77% of NYC restaurants have slashed employee hours. 36% said they had to lay off employees, and 90% had to increase prices following the wage hike, according to a NYC Hospitality Alliance survey taken just 1 month after the bill took effect. Check this out. This is a graphic. It says, on December 31st, 2017, the minimum wage, tip wage, and minimum salary requirements increased for full-service restaurants in New York City. In response to those increases, respondents adjusted their restaurant business operations in the following ways in 2018. Menu prices went up 90.20%. I believe that means 90% of restaurants increased their prices. Reduced employee hours, 76%. Eliminated jobs, 36%. Eliminated tipping, only 2.9%. Reworked food and beverage menu offerings to reduce cost, 55%. And then we can say these increases were a significant factor in me closing a restaurant, only 2.9%. I did not make any of the above changes to my restaurant business operations, 3.9%, and other 6%. So only a few who have closed attribute it to the increase in wages. Because let's be real. I'm not going to shut my business down if I got to pay my employees more. I'm just going to charge more money. Now, here's the problem. There's going to be like a ripple effect, dominoes falling over. If I've explained this before, so if you watch any of my videos on this, I just want to make sure I make this point for anybody who's like new to the argument against a minimum wage. Andrew Yang is opposed to it for similar reasons. Automation being one of them, but also increasing the minimum wage doesn't change anything about the unseen labor and the costs of like running a family. And let me just put it this way. If you can get, I'll use the cheeseburger, I'll use a cheeseburger reference. If you can get one cheeseburger per hour, and the person who makes the cheeseburger can produce one cheeseburger per hour, that's like low skilled wage. Making a cheeseburger is not that difficult, so anyone can really do it. And we're talking about like fast food burgers. If then all of a sudden you say everyone should get 2 burgers per hour, but the guy who makes the burger can still only make one, this is probably a really bad analogy, because what I've done in the past is like talking about somebody who trains to be a baker now only being able to get 1 cheeseburger instead of 2, which they were used to. Like, people go to school for a reason. We'll go back to the story because I'm getting hung up on this analogy and doing a bad job of it. They say only about 4% of survey respondents indicated that none of the above changes took place in their restaurants. What it really forces you to do is make sure that nobody works more than 40 hours, Susan Coteen, owner of Lido Restaurant in Harlem, told Fox News. You can only cut back so many people before the service starts to suffer. NYC restaurants are taking hits from Cuomo's push, but Washington doesn't seem to have received the memo. The House passed the Raise the Wage Act in July, which mandated a nationwide $15 minimum wage. The bill was later blocked by the Senate because it makes no sense to pay someone in rural Iowa what somebody in New York City makes. The cost of living in New York is way higher. It's like nobody really thinks about the ramifications of their decisions. And I gotta say, this is usually a problem on the left. It exists on the right too, but for the most part, I see all these feel-good notions, like we should do this because it will work. Listen, let me explain why increasing the minimum wage can be a good thing. Because I want to make sure this is understood. You know, there's nuance in these debates. If you're importing a product where the wage stays the same, right? $10 for, $100 for a low-tier phone. Paying someone in New Jersey more means they will have access to that imported good. The problem with a federal increase is that it means the guy in rural Iowa who's harvesting, or I'll say Idaho, harvesting potatoes, is now getting $15 an hour, which means the cost per potato is going to increase. If you can harvest 10 potatoes per hour and you got to pay someone $10 an hour, then it's $1 per potato, plus you got to cover tax, transport, etc., growth, and then you're going to be spending like $2 per potato. Increase the guy's wage. Now you have to the cost of pulling it. I don't understand why people don't seem to get this. If you can make 1 widget per hour and you have to pay $10 per hour, it's $10 per widget. And then you've got to sell the widget for more to make a profit for your business so you can cover everything else: overhead, physical location, transport to and from, employee benefits. So it's beyond just that wage. And they don't seem to get it. They don't seem to think about that. If you're going to raise wages for rural America, you will see a dramatic and rapid inflation in major cities because major cities are overpriced. The cost of living is really high. Now what do you think is going to happen when the cost of food goes up threefold, fourfold? It's ridiculous. Anyway, I'll leave it there. The big takeaway from this was just like, I was really surprised to see that menu prices went up across the board for everybody. But that's to be expected. That's the result. Now you're going to have people in Brooklyn being like, dude, it's $15 for a cheeseburger. I'm not going to buy this. And then you have a dangerous cycle. Or that person's going to say, I need a raise. And they're going to go to their boss and say, you got to pay me more. And then everything just ticks up. Anyway, stick around. I got a couple more segments coming up for you in a few moments, and I will see you shortly.